Let's talk about the favorite or the fool. This is going to sound darn near sacrilegious to some teams, so I hope you can bear with me. So many of us talk about really getting good at our conversion rates, that every lead is convertible. Every lead has a chance to be converted and owes some effort to it. Well, I'm going to challenge that to a degree. And I think this new mindset, this new way of thinking of your leads can help your business greatly. Because those leads, every single lead, before you have even met them, they have given you a label. Before you can deliver any of your most beautifully developed game plans, strategies, rehearsed lines, which I hope you don't do. We don't want to just be robotically rehearsed. That's a problem in of itself. Before you can do any of that, before you can get front and center, get any sort of interaction with a lead, you've been given a label by that lead. And the label assigned to you by that lead, that dictates your chances of converting them. And those two labels that they might give you are the favorite or the fool. The favorite or the fool. I talk about this in past calls. There is 7 essential truths to human nature. 7 essential truths that all humans operate with. And we're not going to talk about all 7 of those. We're going to talk about number 2, which is really where this favorite or the fool concept exists. And number 2 of these 7 essential truths is the fact that there is no such thing as a fully open mind. There is no such thing as a fully open mind. As much as we like to say it in our daily lives that, hey, I'm open-minded, it's not actually true. We all have past experiences, beliefs, values. Regardless of what we say to someone, those are always in play with how we're interacting with something. So we have that going for us as humans. Now, additionally, let me ask you all a question. When was the last time you said you needed something? Maybe you needed a plumber, and you just opened the phone book and you just did a magical point and called that person. Darn near no one does that. No one is fully open-minded and just rolls the dice on who that plumber is. What do you do if you need a plumber? Well, you go online and you look for reviews. You ask trusted friends and family who they've used before. You are doing research to gather information to identify who you're going to reach out to before you've ever talked to that person. Yes? The same is true for our leads and the real estate agents that they're looking at. No one has ever engaged you with a fully open mind. They have looked online. They have talked to friends and family members. They have an idea of who you are to them before you could talk to them. Now, what if we could help our business by acknowledging this, knowing that there is no such thing as a fully open mind, knowing that we've been given a label, one of 2 labels by these people? What if we could make it a point to quickly, in the first interaction with a lead, try to uncover how they are seeing us? Because let me tell you something, if they have labeled us as a favorite, those who label you as their favorite, that's a pool of people who are 80% convertible. 80% of that pool will go on to work with you and become a pended and closed transaction. 4 out of 5 clients in that pool of favorite. Now, on the flip side, if there is that pool of people who've labeled you as a fool, that's a 20% conversion rate. 1 out of 5 of those people will actually amount to a committed relationship that'll pend and close. How many realtors out there are currently spending precious hours running around doing all sorts of things for a lead with the hope that it'll amount to a closing? And that lead has labeled them as a fool. That hours of free showings, looking at comparables for listings information, and that's when it can going to convert 20% of the time. You're burning hours that are never going to amount to anything. So maybe we should quickly uncover who is treating us like a fool and politely send them on their way so we can get more time back to making sure we're providing quality service to the favorite pool and getting time back to find more favorites. Let's find those who've called us fool, part ways with them professionally, of course, try to send them away in the proverbial limousine. That's the quality of service when we part ways with people that we should aspire to. And let's get our time back to maximize our favorites and grow our favorites. An interesting thought. I see a chat here. Bobby, yeah, many don't consider an agent when maybe all they are looking for is a property. Yeah, they're just looking for a property. They're not considering the relationship. That is an indicator of one of those two labels, yes. We should be quicker to identify how we are being labeled, and there are 5 ways for us to tell if we've been labeled the favorite or the fool. We're going to uncover those 5 different ways to tell, and let's make sure we have a quick clarifier here. If you uncover a red flag that says you're a fool for one of these, don't immediately just cut ties with the person. You're kind of accumulating a few data points here, right? So I just want to make sure that's clear. If one of these strike you as they're treating me like a fool, we don't cut so quick. We make sure we take some time to accumulate data, right? So let's dive in with these 5. And I invite you really, if you see value in these 5, I've started to recently advocate for maybe almost making a scorecard. When you talk to a brand new lead, have that scorecard in front of you to score favorite marks versus fool marks to help you have a pretty good idea of the label they've given you. So let's dive in. Number 1, how are they reaching out to you? How did they reach out to you? Well, the most important thing about this is to not sell yourself. It's just to ask them about their interest in working with you. Did they reach out to you? Did they engage with you because of who you are and your team, or are they just calling around? If they have a specific reason for talking to you and or your team, that's favorite territory, right? They've looked at the reviews, they say, and you've got some favorable reviews. That is favorite language. Yeah, you helped my cousin's friend out, and well, they brought your name up to me. That is favorite territory. If they say, I'm just calling around, interviewing agents, that is fool territory. If they said we're not really interested in an agent right now, that is fool territory. Some people out there need to be asked this question. They want to see a house. Maybe they're requesting a showing. And you should ask, here's a powerful question in the name of this number 1 favorite or fool tactic. I'm curious, of all the agents you know, why me? Why did you reach out to me? There is the statement right down. I'm curious, of all the agents you know, why me? You're interested in seeing this house. You're calling to ask about the process. Of all the agents you know, why me? Vague answers is fool territory. Specifics, again, that is favorite territory. They may say, well, heck, I am just calling around, but I'm now seeing that, well, this team. Okay, at first it sounded like some fool land, but then they got more specific with they're seeing information about you, some data that's speaking to them. All right. Sounds more favorite. We need to slow ourselves down and find out how they heard about us, what they know about us. Say you're doing some cold calls, right? Have they heard about the team? Are they familiar with the team? If they know nothing, that is the potential for fool territory. I take that with a grain of salt if you're the one who engaged them. But if they're familiar with you and they say some favorable things, okay, that is more towards favorite territory. Now, again, we don't put all our eggs in this one basket. If they say they're just calling around, we don't just cut ties with them right there on the spot. We got to apply the remaining 5 ways to tell if you're the favorite and the fool. Number 2 is, do I fit their profile? Number 2 is, do I fit the profile? So whether they engaged you, whether you did a cold call, reach out to them, you got to find out their profile of a realtor and how strongly you align with it. Let me tell you, it is foolish to try to be everything for everyone, because then you will be effective to no one. When you try to be everything to everyone, you are effective to no one. You as a realtor owe it to yourself to have some clearly defined criteria for what you will and will not do for your clients. How you operate and how you do not operate. If you're trying to be everything to everyone, you will damage your ability to have the time to serve all those people who ask you of different things. So what's your profile? And can you uncover the leads version of a realtor, their profile, and ask yourself, am I in alignment with this? We should make sure we ask a lead about their past experience with realtors. How do they pick their past realtor if they've bought and sold before? What led them to making that decision? What was it about that realtor that you enjoyed when you worked with them? Here's a powerful question for this. Why would you not use the agent that you worked with previously? Someone raised their hand. Yes, feel free to pop a question in the chat. I'll keep on rolling here. I saw a hand come up. You are trying to gather from that lead their idea of what a realtor is, what a good realtor is to them. You can get so basic and simply ask, what do you want in an agent? And really pump your brakes to uncover a full profile of what they think a realtor is for them. Now let's talk examples here. They might say, well, our last realtor, well, they were a little scatterbrained, but what we did like is that they were willing to take our phone calls after midnight. Okay, their profile of a realtor that they want is someone who's going to answer the phone after midnight. I don't know about all of you, but that is not how I want to roll. That is a concern. That is a red flag that belongs in fool territory. They also tell you that, hey, we want them to just do what we tell them to do. They know the paperwork, but we understand strategy. So we're going to tell them what we're offering. I don't need them giving me their opinion. I've bought and sold houses before. I just need them to write up the paperwork. That's not how I roll. That is fool territory. They want a yes man or gal who just writes up everything they say, and they want to be available after midnight. That sounds like a fool relationship to me. I'm marking that up as a concern, as a lead that is not going to be productive. Are we capturing a profile of what they think a realtor is, what they want out of a realtor, and do you match that profile? Don't try to be everything to everyone. If it's a fool profile, it is not you. You're setting yourself up for a tough partnership that will only be convertible 20% of the time. Now, if their description of a realtor is gelling with your profile of what a good realtor is, with how you operate, excellent. Favorite territory. Now, again, if they say, we're just calling around, but their profile of a realtor that they are looking for is up your alley, great. It's not someone you cut ties with. Now let's keep going to number 3. So number 1 is, why did they reach out in the first place? Number 2 is, do I fit the profile? Number 3, can I make an emotional connection? Can I make an emotional connection? Here's the thing, favorite relationships, the productive relationships, the majority of them of the time are relationships where you've made a personal connection with the person. Look, houses are not transactional like we think they are. Houses are filled with emotion. If you've ever listed a house, you gotta know it is not some logical product. We need emotional connection to exist in healthy partnerships. Emotional connection is the equivalent of favorite territory. In absence of emotional connection, that's a red flag that you're in fool territory. So, anytime you're talking to someone, we can't just talk about the house. We got to pump the brakes and we got to use some of those tell me mores and go in 3 deep. We got to practice forward with people, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We got to get away from the house and talk about their family and where they came from and see if they're willing to share information about that. What do they do for a living? How long have they been doing that? If they are willing to share about who they are as people, the more they do that, the more that is a favorite label. If they say things, well, that's private, that doesn't matter, I just want to talk about the house. If they're keeping it professional, that is fool's territory the majority of the time. Now, look, some people are wired. If we believe in discs, some people are wired to want to focus on the task at hand. But even D's and C's, those task-oriented types, there can be emotional connections established with them. If they refuse to give you anything about who they are as people, and I'm including all 4 types of disc, that is a concern. You are an object to them. There is no emotional connection to a tool that they just want to pick up and use. And you don't form partnerships with tools. You just use them. So the absence of an emotional connection, that's a problem, gang. Related to that idea of an emotional connection is number 4 on this list. Is the conversation collaborative? What's the tone of the conversation you're having with this person? Is it a two-way street of information being shared? Or do you slow down and realize you're just being pumped for information? You can't learn a thing about the lead, but they are asking of. I think you're picking up on the theme here. If they're just asking, if they're just using, that is a fool situation. If they're willing to share some things about themselves, their pre-approval status, where they bought before, their family situation, what they do for work. Okay, right? Favorite territory. So what are some buzzwords or statements for you to be able to tell this is fool's territory? Well, they may say things like, oh, I'm just picking your brain. Or they may say that's private in response to your questions. They may say, I don't know. They might say, you're the expert. That's why I'm asking you. All of those statements are indicator of a fool relationship. I mean, can we time out here really quick? You ask someone about their search criteria. You ask someone about what they think they might get pre-approved for. You ask someone about what they think their house could sell for. And they say, I don't know. There's no such thing as a fully open mind. We all create ballpark estimates for ourselves. If you own a house, you absolutely have an idea in your mind of what you think it's worth and what you want to list it for before you talk to someone. Someone saying, I don't know, is them being evasive. And that's a problem. That's a concern. They are not interested in a relationship with you. They want to use you for what they want. Is it a collaborative conversation, gang? Finally, number 5. Number 5. Some of you are not going to like the sound of this one. Some of you will say this one cannot be done. It is impossible. I'm telling you, it is done by realtors across the country. And it's those realtors who are getting themselves protected time to grow their business the right way and not run around chasing fool relationships that burn their hours that they could be spending on growing their business. Number 5 is, are they opposed to making a commitment up front? Is the lead opposed to making a commitment up front? This is a mental block for a bunch of you. You believe that you've not cultivated the relationship to deserve a commitment from them, that you have to give your hours away for free to make them see the value in you and make a commitment to you. You are shortchanging your value when you operate that way. You are operating like a dime a dozen realtor versus a expert professional whose time is worthy of a partnership. Don't you think that's the better sounding option to a lead? When you say, I'm good at what I do, my time is precious, I'm a great realtor, I'm not available at the drop of a hat for you. If we're going to work together, if you really want to win, we need to make a commitment to working together. Look, those realtors who say, well, I haven't earned that relationship, I got to give them free hours. Well, people who've labeled you as a fool, oh, they're going to happily take you up on those free hours. And now you're a tool that is available to them with no commitment. You are a unlimited hours realtor that they have to make no investment into. They will happily oblige in using the free tool left and right with ever feeling like they have to commit something to it. You normalize the relationship. You tell them, yeah, I'm available for you whenever you need me, however you need me. And they will take you up on that. That is not a respectful partnership. A respectful partnership is when they know your time is valuable, that your time matters because you're a successful realtor. And they better make a serious commitment to you if you're going to make a commitment of your precious time to them. We cannot offer free consulting anymore, gang. We just can't do it. You're too good of a realtor to be a free consultant, a free door opener when a lead's made zero commitments to you. Now, it's a go show situation. Of course, that first showing is the opportunity for you to maybe uncover if you're a favorite or a fool. But it's those additional showings, that additional work on coming up with a price estimate for their house when they've made zero commitments to you, that is a problem. You're wasting so many hours in your business chasing fool leads who are not making a commitment to you. You uncover if they're a favorite, and you simply say, hey, if people want to succeed in this market, what's important to do next is to have a strategy session to really talk about what it's going to take for you to win based on what you're looking for. If you really want to be a buyer who wins, if you really want to list your house the right way, this is the next step. What time do you want to sit down and get this done? That's the confidence we need to have when we make this ask for a sit-down strategy session where we can make commitments to each other. Now, if they say, that makes sense, let's do it. If they have some follow-up clarifying questions, hopefully you're prepared to justify the strategy session. That doesn't have to be an hour, by the way. It could be 20, 30 minutes. But if you're confident that that's the next step, if they want to keep working with you, the favorites will resonate with that and they'll say, okay. It's the fools who will lash out at you when you say that's the next step. They'll say things like, it sounds like you don't want my business. It sounds like you're too busy for me. It sounds like you're too important for me. Well, that's a fool relationship, and they're lashing out at you because you're not letting them use you like a tool. These types of attacks are from people who just want to take from you. And that's okay. It's okay to walk from those people who are unwilling to make a commitment to you up front. It's a sin. Let me rephrase this. It's not a sin to lose business. It's a sin to take a long time to lose business. It's not a sin to lose some business, gang. It is a sin to take a long time to lose that business. And too many of you out there are just dragging along, being dragged along by a fool relationship, wasting these hours. It's only 20% of the time that it's going to amount to anything for you. We've got to get more comfortable with asking for those commitments up front, for them to sit down, have that strategy session where we part ways with them committing to working with us. Look, if you're brand new to the business, I can get behind you letting yourself work with a fool partnership. If that's the first lead that you have and you're dry in any other opportunities. That's okay, I suppose. When you have other opportunities, when you have the need to master the art of lead gen and follow-up, look, you have got to be comfortable with cutting some fool relationships as soon as possible so you can master the habits that'll truly help you succeed in this business. And it's making sure you serve favorites and find more favorites. In recap, why are they reaching out to you? Do you fit their profile? Can you make an emotional connection with them beyond just the house? Can you make a conversation that's collaborative versus a one-way street where they're pumping you for information? Are they opposed to making a commitment up front? I shared this with a coaching client, and he just kind of laughed when he said, yeah, last week sucked. I realized that I was running around the town, running around the county, serving a fool relationship. And yeah, there's no commitment from that person. And I spent X number of hours running around town, lost out on my consistent follow-ups and lead gen. And I have no guarantee that's going to do anything for my business. That stings when I realize I'm wasting all this time on a fool partnership. So assess your status quo. What leads do you currently have that you've been actively chasing or communicating with? And what's the status of them? Are they favorites or are they fools? Put them into two different columns. If you don't know, that's an opportunity to follow up with them and really do some vetting. Hey, I've been showing you a couple houses so can I just ask, why did you reach out to us in the first place? Can I just ask, hey, I've been putting some time into this. Are you opposed to us making this a formal commitment, making this an official partnership? It's never too late with a lead if you have no idea who they are in this. You can call and say, hey, let's time out here and really strategize together over the phone. Ask these poignant questions to gather that data if you missed it before. Too many realtors are wasting time chasing that 20% convertible group and missing out on the time to cultivate that 80% convertible group. Think about that. Think about changing your business. Think about giving yourself time back. Think about leaning into the right people. Save yourself some stress and make this more enjoyable for you. That's the favorite or the fool for you, gang. The 5 ways to tell who you are, and we should do something about that. I'm wondering if there's any comments, questions that anyone would drop on this concept. I will pause. I am all ears. Going once. I will repeat the 5 for you. Absolutely. So again, the 5 ways to tell if you're the favorite or the fool. Number 1, why are they reaching out to you? Number 2, do you fit their profile? Number 3, can you make an emotional connection with them? Number 4, is the conversation collaborative? And number 5, are they opposed to making a commitment up front? Again, imagine having a scorecard next to you when you're having that conversation with the person. A scorecard you can quickly go back to after you had that go show first interaction. Just mark like, okay, you know what? That was a collaborative conversation. Hey, we did make an emotional connection. You know what? They said they'd heard about us. They'd heard good things, and that's why they reached out to the office. Okay, my profile, there's a couple things that aren't great sounding that they're expecting out of a realtor. I maybe could coach them on that. And you know what, number 5, I failed to make the ask about the commitment. I got to work on that. Okay, that's leaning heavily towards more of a favorite territory. I got to follow up with them to uncover more information about this favorite situation. And it sounds like it's worthy of my time to do that. Eric Peterson says, what do you do with people who were referred? Eric, this is a very specific scenario that you're looking at. Example being a divorce situation, and it was referred to you. And yeah, that's interesting, right? One side of the couple in this divorce situation doesn't think a realtor needs to be involved. That's a tricky situation, Eric. And in my opinion, if it takes two people to list and one of them is treating you like the fool, that is a fool relationship. And it's up for you to decide if you want that 20%, if you want to chase that 20%. Now, here's a matter of perspective, Eric. If you have a lot of listing opportunities out there, if you have multiple listing opportunities, in this case, yeah, I mean, shoot, they don't want to use you. I would say, let me direct you to someone else who might be able to help you. If they have no desire to use a realtor, yeah, that's fool territory. Maybe you say, hey, you two have to decide how you're going to get this listed. And that's not, Eric, you're not the counselor to decide for them. The best you could offer is a sit-down strategy session for that person to decide if it absolutely makes no sense. But beyond that, Eric, I don't know if I'd put a ton of effort into that one, even though it was a referral. I think you go back to the person who referred you and say, here's the situation, here's where I'm faced with. If they don't want to use a realtor, they don't want to use a realtor. And you protect that referral. Oh, Eric, I see. Clarifier. It's not that they don't want to use a realtor, but one wants me to do a bunch of work before I can talk with the other spouse, before the other spouse commits to working with me. Yeah. So they want to, that's fool relationship, right? They just want to use you. One says they will decide that is not how things work, Eric. This is a fool relationship that you are in the thick of right now. Plain and simple. I think you got to stand your grounds because you are worth your time and your talent. And you've got to say to them, hey, if this is going to be successful, what needs to happen is a strategy session before the work begins. To understand the work that needs to be done, to have a good idea of the strategy. My professional input is talking to the both of you as soon as possible, and talking strategy is necessary before the work gets done. We cannot put the cart before the horse, Mr. or Mrs. Seller. That is irresponsible for this to go smoothly. So as a realtor who knows what they're doing, we've got to get the strategy session done as soon as possible before work can begin. You got to be confident in that, Eric. That makes sense. I was giving you answers, not understanding the situation. Denise, this recording will be available. Yes. You're welcome, Eric. No one talks about these things because we farm an area, we're constantly in these situations. Yeah. And look, divorce is messy, but there are favorite relationships where the divorce is amicable to working with the right person and amicable to doing the strategy session. And then there are divorces like this, that's fool territory, and you do your darndest to get that upfront commitment. But if they're unwilling, I don't want you to lose hours doing a bunch of work for a listing that may amount to nothing for you. That is a norm in real estate we have got to rewire, everyone. Don't do a crap ton of hours of work for free with no commitment made to you. You are worth more than that. You are worth the time you're spending. You can allocate that time to things like finding other leads that'll be more smooth for you. Any other questions, comments on the favorite or the fool? Oh, Linda asks, can you advise about body language that we should be mindful of in addition to these discussion tips? Linda, that is a great piece of input there. Absolutely, we should pay attention to tone and body language. And here's something that I think we should be mindful of. This is a tactic. Anytime you want to give advice, we should not just say, here is what I would advise, here's what you should do when we're talking to someone. We should instead say, would you be against, are you opposed to? Would you hate it if? because we want them to answer with no to those questions. When we say, hey, what I would advise is that you get pre-approved, they know they're supposed to say yes, but there is an attack on their autonomy when you advise them, when you tell them what they should be doing, that makes people a little combative, whether they say it or not, whether they flat out disagree or they keep it to themselves. When they say yes, because you're coaching them and they feel like they're supposed to say yes, there's some resentment that gets bred. And you can detect that in their tone. You can detect that in their body language, but they're politely telling you yes. We never want to undermine someone's autonomy by saying, here's what I would advise, here's what you should do, don't you think you should do this? Any questions that elicit a yes out of them, or they're supposed to say yes, attacks their autonomy. And if your autonomy is attacked, you have a subconscious desire to defend yourself, aka to disagree, to ignore the advice, to not be truly listening to the person giving you the advice. So we got to flip the way we ask those questions slightly, right? We got to get people to say no. Hey, would you be opposed to meeting with a realtor and learning what you could get pre-approved for right now? That's not attacking their autonomy. They have the freedom to say, yeah, we're opposed to that. But more often than not, when you say it that way, they say, no, we're not opposed to it. Now, because you preserve their autonomy with that sneaky little tweak, their autonomy is protected. They feel like they're still in charge of their own decision-making. And now they just said to you, we're not against it. And they've essentially given you permission to help them line up that meeting. So I think body language is certainly telling. It is certainly telling to if they're really listening to you or not, because they're saying things, but their tone is very guarded and irritated looking. But really at the bottom of all of this is, are you preserving their autonomy with the type of questions you ask, how you're asking them? Great question there. That was from Linda. Thank you, Linda. Last call for any other questions. Again, everyone, we aren't superhuman. We are not rock stars who can convert 100% of people. And no matter how prepared you are, people have made up their mind before they even talk to you a majority of the time. So maybe instead of trying to say every lead could be converted so easily, every lead is convertible, maybe we should take the time to find out what label's been given to us to shape our strategy appropriately. Favorite or fool. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Good luck applying this stuff. Please don't just hear this as a shiny object and do nothing with it. Make that checklist. Assess your current database and decide who's who. And apply this. Have a good rest of the week, gang.